Tourism for Visit Houston. We are the official tourism office for the city, and we are here to help the travel trade learn about Houston, to work with the travel trade, especially in getting access to hotels in the city, to work with our attractions in the city, event venues, transportation companies, anything that might be needed. To give some background, Houston is now the fourth largest city in the United States. It now falls on New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, and as such, we have become quite a powerhouse of a city that is really interested in the India market. To give you an idea, India now is our fifth largest international market, after Mexico, Canada, the UK, China, and now India. So, to give you an idea, last year we had slightly over 60,000 visitors from India come in, mostly to visit family and friends. And we are super excited because the trend shows that Indian travelers are coming to Houston and really getting to know the destination a little bit better. Indian travelers to Houston love to shop in our city, and we have lots to offer when it comes to shopping. We have a lot of high-end shopping available in Houston at the Galleria, at the River Oak Shopping District, which is actually kind of our Rodeo Drive, and also very competitive pricing at our outlet malls. We have Houston premium outlets, as well as several other options, including Tanger outlets and close to Space Center Houston. With that said, we have a variety of attractions in Houston. I'm very happy to have the CEO of Space Center Houston, Mr. William Harris, here with us today. Space Center Houston is actually the largest attraction, the most visited attraction in Houston, and it is where you can see the Home to America space program, NASA essentially, and I'll let him talk about that. But in general, the city, Houston now is known as a culinary and cultural capital in the United States. We are now the most diverse city in the USA. And as such, our culinary scene has become very reflective of the entire world. So that's been one of the things that's made the city really great. And then we're real fans of arts and culture in Houston. We have a 19 museum district in the city that includes a Museum of Fine Arts, a Museum of Natural Science, a children's museum, and a variety of others. But then also, we are a cultural capital in the sense that we have theater, ballet, opera, symphony, and many other options. So I know we're recording here, but I'm happy to take questions. That's just a simple overview of what we have to offer in Houston.
So the first question is, like, if you said the brand USA, earlier USTA, they forayed into the India market in 2007, and you are coming here in 2018. Given the background, I was just doing some research. The export to India in last 1 year has been grown by 61.5%. You have 82,000 Indians already living there. Most of the Indian companies who is of a MNC scale, they have their offices and perhaps headquarters there in Houston. The trade is completely pushed by energy sector. LNG is there. So, taking all these perspective in mind, why it is so like you are foraying into the India market after 11 years of U.S. Trade Association, basically Travel Trade Association? That is the first thing.
Sure.
Second, do you think this time is right, given all the if you take the political environment, what is happening there in the U.S., the time is right?
I'll answer your second question first. Yes, we absolutely believe that the time is right. Like I mentioned, we've received studies now that are showing that Indian travelers to Houston are spending in excess of $8,000 per person per trip when they come into the city. The total economic impact that Indians had on Houston in 2017 was $122 million on the Houston economy. And that number has been steadily increasing for the past 11 years. There has been concern, we are hopeful that we can attain a direct flight from India to Houston at some point. We tend not to focus on markets that do not have a direct flight. But India is just a case of something we cannot ignore. We get into the market. To answer your first question, we have been interested in India for quite some time. and are making more serious moves now to get into the market. It's been influenced heavily. Most of the people that come into Houston are friends and family. The Indo-American community in Houston numbers at about 150,000. So there's a lot of friends and family travel that is coming through. But as you mentioned, we're also an energy capital. So we're happy to be here now. We're taking it so seriously. Really, we're here as a part of a delegation with the mayor of Houston, Mr. Mayor Sylvester Turner. And we have a delegation that's here that is representative of every sector in the city, including energy.
When you entered into the Spanish market, you had come with a new campaign, which is completely driven by like Hola
Houston, yeah.
Hola Houston. Is there some sort of plan for the India market as well? Because if you see in terms of India is one of the fastest outbound growing market.
Yes. You know, I'm a big believer in customizing campaigns to the market. We have always looked at individual markets. Hola Houston was born out of the fact that you can't attract visitors from Mexico, for example, in our case, giving the same messages and not being culturally sensitive to what the Mexican traveler needs. So we launched Hola Houston about 3 years ago, and it's been incredibly successful. In the long run, yes, I would like to do something like that. On this mission, I'm here mostly to learn about the market, to explore to see what the opportunities are, and so far I have been very impressed with what's happening here. I don't have plans to announce something today, but in the long run, yes, we will do something like that.
Can I ask some
Yeah,
question? Why you were selected this time to come to India when Mr. Trump, your president, is putting a lot of welcome restriction for Indians to come there?
Yeah. You know, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah, my question was that, why you selected this time to promote Houston,
Right.
when the President of America, Trump, is welcoming Indians and tourists all over the world with a very warm greetings.
You know, I will tell you that I come from a city that is the 4th largest city in the United States, and we are now the most diverse city in the United States. And as such, we've always been a very welcoming and open city. As I mentioned before, there's about 150,000 Indians that are living in Houston. I'm here this time because our mayor, the city of Houston, is very interested in developing the trade ties between Houston and developing the other types of ties in Houston, between Houston and India. The truth is that we're a very open and welcoming city. We don't believe in building walls. We believe in building bridges. We believe in building relationships. We couldn't be the international city that we are today without being an open city. We have people from every country on earth living in Houston, and are very much about providing a welcome mat to people from all over the world. And I'm here to invite Indians to come to Houston to see all that it has to offer.
Yeah, but question is, we have to have basic facilities, means getting easy visa, to America, and also getting some welcome, smile welcome in America,
Right.
which we get from the people.
Right.
People are very nice. There's no doubt of it. Because with my experience, I've seen it when you're walking on the road. Also, people doesn't know you. Also, they hi, how are you? Those sort of personal feeling is there. I'm very proud of the American people as such. But at the moment, the situation is so grim. As per the image is given by your president, there is not very welcome visit. Thing that people feel it twice. Oh,
Yeah.
if I apply for visa, whether I get it or not, once it's reduced, refuse visa, I will never get a visa.
Yeah.
So all those problems are coming, whether tourists, all that. If you're going in a group, I do not know about that. I'm taking individual.
Yeah. I will tell you that we certainly understand the situation about visas and are very actively working with the U.S. Travel Association to see how we can fix issues like these. I will say that there's a lot of messages that are being sent that especially in the media, that are really not reflective of the way Houston feels. I'm here to invite Indians and to work with the travel industry to tell you a little bit about what is now the 5th most visited destination in the United States for Indians. So for us, I can't speak for Mr. Trump, but I can tell you that we are definitely a city that is looking to increase the number of visitors from India, and will provide a welcoming smile.
So I'm sure
to
you
the
must
city.
have done such study before coming here. How much Indians are coming here? How much you're going there will attract more Indians to come.
Yeah, no, I said this a little before, but it is. We had about just slightly over 60,000 visitors from India last year, 2017. That had an economic impact of $122 million on the city. They stay an average of 19.7 nights when they come into the city, and the primary reason that Indian travelers come to Houston is to visit friends and family. So we're very lucky because we already have kind of a strong leisure base. Houston is also the capital of energy, the world capital for energy. So we have a lot of oil and gas business, and increasingly wind, solar, and hydro are
And it's a
there.
border country also, border state also.
With Mexico.
Yeah, it's a border state with
Yes.
Mexico,
Mexico.
correct. Yeah.
And,
So,
I'm very happy that you started an office in India, and I'm sure you've got the right people here to work for you.
I think so. I think
they are
that
excellent people. They are
I like to hear that. Thank you very much.
What is the growth expectations? Like
Yeah.
if you see 150,000 Indians are already settled there, and the VFR number is 60,000 plus, as you mentioned. So first is, what is the growth expectation?
Yeah.
Second is, like you are a very, very business city sort of thing.
Yeah.
The growth, trade growth
Yeah.
between India and Houston City is over 60% last year. So the growth expectation, which is the segment, like BFR,
Yeah.
since Indians are living there, they will be going there.
Yeah.
What is your main target, main focus segment?
I will tell you,
out of India?
VFR is important to us, but we also are big believers in leisure, which is or biz leisure. Oil and gas business tends to be very cyclical, and there's been a downturn in the market, and we're definitely now on the upturn. I think that the amount of companies that are the high tech startups and that type of thing. The delegation that's here from Houston has a variety of individuals who are here to make those connections. So I'd like to take business trips and extend them into leisure trips. So those are the two primary areas that we're interested in. With that, Houston is an extremely family-friendly destination. And I think we should let Mr. Harris talk a little bit about Space Center Houston, which is our top attraction in the city.
I'm sure one day he'll send the Indian.
One more question,
Yeah,
and
sure.
Yes.
that is related to him. Like if you see the student traffic out of India,
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry.
student
Sunita
traffic
Williams.
Yeah.
out of India,
Sunita
Yeah.
Williams.
Oh, yeah,
it's,
that's a long back.
to your city is growing very fast.
Yeah.
So is there any specific strategy to capture to that particular segment?
I'm gonna let him answer that question because the truth is that Space Center Houston has incredibly strong educational programs that we have seen already are going to be of very much interest for Indian travelers.
Great. So my name is William Harris. I'm president and CEO of Space Center Houston. We are a full-service science center that focuses on space exploration, particularly human space exploration. We're also the official visitor center for NASA Johnson Space Center. So what's unique about our facility is we're a large facility where you can learn about the history of the U.S. space program, everything that goes back to the Mercury Redstone Gemini program through Apollo, Space Shuttle. And we also manage all of the behind-the-scenes tours at NASA Johnson Space Center. So unlike many of the other NASA centers, we actually take you into the actual working facilities. We take you in to see a full-scale replica of the International Space Station where astronauts train, and also where they come up with engineering solutions. There is a major robotics area looking at developing humanoid robots. So we're now in the 5th generation of that robot, and the plan is when we ultimately send humans to Mars, that we'll have robots that will be sent ahead to create the human habitats for when humans arrive. We also have very robust education programming for youth, day camps during the summer and holiday periods for 4-year-olds through high school. We also offer a very robust education 1-week program called Space Center University. And that's currently for youth ages 11 to 18. We also have a new college track, and we're starting an adult track because the parents are saying, I want to do what my kids are doing. This looks like it's so much fun. But it's really to immerse you in real science content and engineering content of what takes place at NASA and specifically Johnson Space Center. During that week program, you actually interact with astronauts and scientists and engineers who actually work on the space program, and the participants are given a challenge at the beginning of the week with a budget and are mentored and work through the week to come up with solutions. So one track is actually creating a habitat on Mars that will support human life. And by the end of the week, the participants have actually created different models that get juried and they receive feedback. So the real goal of the program is to nurture our natural curiosity, inquisitiveness, but also to develop more analytical and critical thinking skills. So it's fun and engaging, but it's also academic. So you're really improving the skills of the participants in that program. But there are also some physical challenges, just like astronauts go through.
Exactly.
One day during the week, we actually have students in a pool where they're coached on scuba and snorkeling, and as a team have to work on a habitat structure. And the divers who work with the students are actually the same divers that train astronauts. So you're being exposed to the very same people who work on the U.S. space program. I think it's important to say that the space program is international, and that's what will make it successful. There are many nations of the world, including India, who have space programs. And in fact, NASA actually works with the Indian Research Space Organization on a number of projects. And so this is a way we can help encourage you to pursue careers in this arena. Because space is the great frontier. That's what we're most interested in. It's international. People are very curious about it. In fact, if you think of the International Space Station, which is flown in Houston out of Johnson Space Center, and that's something else you get to see when you visit. You can actually take a tour that takes you to see the operating control room. And you're seeing astronauts in space doing experiments. The station is the largest space laboratory that's ever existed. You actually get to learn about all the careers associated with that type of work. So it's a very exciting destination, a wonderful learning experience for people of all ages.
Sir, your center is already in a brochure of major tour operators here in India.
Mm-hmm.
They have been sending the school children and
Yes.
students to your center.
Mm-hmm.
With this visit now, and both of you together like working here and creating awareness in the India market, what sort of like growth expectations in terms of student traffic that you are like visualizing? Seeing?
Part of this is to learn a lot. This is the first time we're actually coming and meeting colleagues and having conversations to get a sense of the level of interest. The response so far has been extremely positive with very specific actions that will come out of it. And so now we'll really work on a plan to look at how we can adapt the program to appeal to visitors and youth from India to meet their needs. It is a 5-day experience, and so it involves overnight stay and travel and etc. So I'm very optimistic that we'll be able to create a collaboration. The other thing that's important to us is mixing students from different parts of the world. So currently with our program, our Space Center University program, the majority of students actually come from abroad, from many, many nations of the world. And we find it most effective when we can mix youth from, could be from India with students from America, from Singapore, from Europe, from Australia. And it really will, we feel, foster greater conversation, relationships, and collaboration.
It's a very informative program, and many Indian students like to go, but they may not be able to stay overnight. They may like to spend 4 hours, 5 hours, in your center. In that period of time, what they can learn?
Yes, the average visitor spends 4 to 5 hours at our facility during the course of the day. Self-directed when you're in Space Center Houston. So we give the history of the space program, and we have many artifacts, flown, capsules, things of that nature. But we also have lots of live interactive programming. So we have interactive labs. We have a major installation on the International Space Station where you can learn about living in space with an interactive experience. So you get a sense of what it takes to maintain your health in space. We have a new exhibit called Mission Mars, which focuses on how we'll send humans to Mars. Because NASA's aspiration is to have humans on the surface of Mars within the next 15 to 25 years. And this exhibit, you are the astronaut, and you're placed in a situation where you have to plan your mission. So you're looking at where you're going to land on Mars, you're getting a sense of what the gravitational pull on the planet is, you have to design your spacesuit and test it to see if it will keep you alive. You have to look at sending a supply mission in advance and the mission you're going to go on. How are you going to grow your food? How are you going to protect yourself from radiation? In space, there are their radiation is one of the most dangerous aspects. It's not only solar, because we know we can get burned by the sun, and our atmosphere on Earth protects us, but also cosmic, which is just a radiation that's pulsing through space. Because we're very fragile. We're basically jellyfish with spines, right? So, and lots of things can affect us. We've not evolved to live in microgravity or outside of Earth's protective layer. So you learn all about these aspects. Within that exhibit as well, we actually have a piece of Mars from an asteroid that you can touch. So you can actually touch a piece of Mars. We, at Johnson Space Center, do the science content for the Curiosity rover that's currently on the surface of Mars collecting information. So we have a real-time broadcast of climate on Mars from Curiosity. In this exhibit as well, I've mentioned the radiation factor. You test different materials to see how well they'll protect you from radiation. We have a full-scale model of the Orion capsule, which is the next vehicle that will take astronauts through our atmosphere and back into our atmosphere again. It will likely attach to some other vehicle that will take you into deeper space. So you learn all the aspects of what we currently know. We also have some immersive experiences. We have a blast-off experience. Back in 2014, we did a test launch of Orion, and we've captured the video and the audio and vibrations from that, and you sit in these two seats and you watch it, you experience what it would be like to blast into, it's a simulator to blast into space. We also have a whole gallery of spacesuits looking at the evolution of spacesuit design, and we also have a large 747 jet that was used to carry the shuttles with a full-scale replica of the space shuttle on the back. And it's depicted up here. That's an image of it here. And you actually can go in the interior of both of those. It's the only space shuttle, large-scale space shuttle replica, high-fidelity replica you can go inside of in the world. And in the interior is filled with learning experiences. But in the shuttle replica, you actually go in the mid-deck and you get a sense of what is it like to live inside of a space shuttle in space. So our whole goal is to immerse you in the experience and make it as realistic as possible.
What are your expectations from the Indian market when you're trying to entice or trying to woo them into Houston? What are your expectations in the next 2 years? I mean, since it's your first visit here, in terms of marketing and trying to sell Houston as a tourist destination, but then what areas? I mean, we just discussed about business and we just discussed about trade, and we discussed a lot of things about generalized terms in terms of business city and trade and whatever. But then definitely tourism is a key part when we talk about tourism. What are your expectations from the Indian market? 1, 2, are you also meeting some of the tour operators, outbound tour operators? Have you and are you also meeting the Ministry of Tourism in terms of promotions? What are your targets basically on that?
Our target right now is to get as educated on the market as possible. You know, this is really the first foray we've really gotten into India. I will tell you our expectations long term are obviously going to be to grow the number of visitors. I can't tell you that we've set particular goals on that at this point. I think it's too early in the process to do that. But that is absolutely something that we're interested in. In terms of our visit, yes, we are going to be meeting with the Minister of Tourism. We'll be meeting with him. I'll be meeting with him tomorrow with the mayor of the city of Houston, and we're looking to discuss what possible cooperative partnerships might be available. I'm happy to report back on that once that happens.
But are you also? I mean, we just discussed something that you intend to start a flight, from Delhi to Houston. Is it happening?
I'm sorry if I misspoke. We are not intending to start a flight. We would like for one to start.
Okay.
The Houston airport system is here, and the executive director of the Houston airport system, Mario Diaz, is here. But no, there will be no major announcement or anything like that this week.
For the time being, yeah. Okay.
I think if you
And to answer your other question, we are meeting with tour operators. In fact, we just finished a very successful lunch with a group of about 25 operators. We're also going to Mumbai, and we'll be doing a major event there, meeting with some of the top producers for the United States and introducing, for the first time officially what Houston has to offer.
Exactly. Thank you.
see, if you contact the Air India, I think they'll be interested because there's so many Indians that are in Houston. Like they study a flight in LA, I'm sure they'll be interested to direct flight. non-stop flight to Houston.
Yeah.
Also.
We would all love a non-stop flight between Houston and India.
You know, because you have so many Indians, because they must be coming back to
Yeah.
India during the festival time, to the wedding time.
Yeah.
You understand? So, they'll be, but they when they come here, they'll take a lot of people with them also.
Yeah.
So it's the idea which matters.
Yeah. No, and I'll tell you, I mean, right now, there's so many airlines serving the Houston market. You know, United Airlines obviously is extremely well connected with Houston. We came on Turkish Airlines, which you can go over Istanbul, then Qatar Airways, Emirates, all have great connections to the city of Houston.
Very, very good.
Sure. How much growth are you expecting the first year of operations from India to Houston?
You know, right now we're looking to see how we can take this market and help it grow. I mean, I'd love to see, you know, a 5% increase in a year, but it's probably a little bit early for us to determine that. And right now, it's important that we understand what the real potential. I'll tell you that in my experience so far, I think that there's a real high potential for incentive business from India to Houston, much more so than I expected. That is not typical for a lot of other markets for us. And there's no question that the friends and family aspect is something we're going to continue to capitalize on.
Will you be working closely with the brand USA in promoting Houston? Or?
Yes, we work with Brand USA everywhere we go, and I think that there's a great, for us in this market, it would be extremely helpful to go in with Brand USA.
One question from you, sir. Is NASA a private organization, or is it been funded by the central government?
It's actually an agency of the federal government, so it's supported by the federal government. However, NASA is very big on collaborations. So, for example, the International Space Station is a collaboration with 4 other agencies from other parts of the world. So, Japanese Space Agency, Canadian Space Agency, European Space Agency, and Russian Roscosmos. And so, and within this European Space Agency, there are 22 nations who are involved. So, even though it is an agency of the government, it's really about international collaboration. If you talk to any astronaut or cosmonaut, they will tell you it doesn't matter your nation. They all feel like brethren. They all feel like one. And actually, there's a very interesting phenomenon that happens when astronauts go into space called the observation effect. And when they look back on Earth, they have this incredible epiphany, a realization that we're all one. And Earth is so small and so fragile, and that we all have to take care of it. And most astronauts, when they come back from space, are very committed to world peace and collaboration. It's very, very powerful. So we hope to engender that through our programming and what we present
In
to the
fact,
public.
I met Armstrong in Germany.
Oh, Neil Armstrong,
I
yes.
interviewed him there, and he had come for a meeting, in a meeting where I was also there. So he gave a lot of experience, you know, but he had some minus point also. I know what he expected from American government, he didn't get it that much. So that was his point. But anyhow, he's no more there now. He's dead now. So,
Yes.
But I'm saying it was very interesting to talk to him and to hear his experience. All that. It
Yes.
was very good.
Well, I think the other thing, and we try to share this when you come to Space Center Houston and NASA Johnson Space Center, is understanding the thousands and thousands of discoveries and innovations that have been transferred from space exploration to benefit humanity on Earth. You could go on and on and on about all of the innovations. I mean, one of the most important things, and actually Mr. Armstrong talked about this, was water filtration. And how can you reuse water? It's one of the biggest challenges for humanity on Earth is
Water
potable
is the
water.
main challenge now in the world. You know.
Yes. And so NASA's actually come up with ways to recycle water to make it more efficient for consumption and so many different applications. We also know that when you do research on a wide variety of topics in microgravity, the properties are very different. So they're discovering all kinds of incredible things about cancer. And it's one of the most prevalent diseases in the world.
Yes.
And finding some amazing revelations and discoveries. So, for example, disease processes happen very differently in microgravity. Sometimes they slow down, sometimes they speed up. But when they slow down, you can better understand what's happening. There's a whole area of technology as well around space exploration. We know that certain things fabricated in space have different properties, and when you bring them back to Earth, they're more beneficial to us.
One question. Sorry, please carry on. This is since you want to take a lot of Indians from India as a tourist to your Houston, what is the marketing plan? Are you going to advertise in the electronic media, print media, or you're going to take a lot of Indians, travel agents, media people to Houston to show them, in action.
That's a nice way to ask that question. We do fam trips to Houston, but we're going to be looking to qualify those fam trips quite a bit. And we are big fans of working with airlines. We almost never conduct a fam trip without an airline partner. So for us, I will tell you, we do in all markets we tend to do a mix of marketing that'll be some travel trade related, and then some direct to consumer. My feeling is that in India we would have to do both.
Both, yeah. I will say consumer is more important, because if a travel agent say you go here, he said, why should I go? You say, I know, I want to go this place only. So you will not follow the advice of the travel agents.
Well, and you know what? I think increasingly, no matter where in the world you go, a travel agent can make recommendations, but the consumer almost always knows where they want to go, and you have to be an extremely good travel agent. And I believe that there's many good travel agents in India,
yes.
but it's hard to get that to change. So you have to do a little bit of both. We see our responsibility as educating the travel agent as to what there is to do in Houston, and to act as a conduit to connect to the hotels in the city, to the attractions in the city, transportation companies, and the other parts of the hospitality sector that matter. That's our job.
Taking into consideration the top 5 markets you're attracting for the time being now, what are the percentage of Chinese and Canadians, etc., visiting Houston?
I will tell you that Mexico makes up 92% of the market. Okay, so it is that big. Of course, Mexico is right there.
Border country, yeah.
It's a border country. So once you start looking at the long haul markets, like the UK, China, and India, you have to take very different marketing approaches in all those markets. And I can tell you that, I see India evolving. What I've seen so far is a very digitally savvy market. And one that we're going to have to be very focused on marketing direct to the consumer on, but also the reliance on travel agents is still strong here, from what I can see. Yeah.
Can I give you one suggestion?
Sure.
You